The Lord of the Rings changed my life. Before it, I was a spotty 14-year-old hooked in my science, and then I read Lord of the Rings, and at the same time I discovered women existed, and, well, that's enough of that. You want to hear about a book? By now there must be very few people left who haven't at least heard of Lord of the Rings. Most of them have an opinion on it. There's the fans, some of them fanatics, and there's the people who have read 50 pages or so, sometimes 5 or 6 times even, and just can't get into it. They don't understand what the fuss is all about. I might have been one of them if it hadn't been for an accident. I asked my local librarian to recommend a book for me. I'd read all the Arthur C. Clarke stuff they had, all the Asimov stuff, all the Golden Age science fiction, and she pointed me at Lord of the Rings and handed me what she said was first book of 3. It was only when I got home I found out I had book 2, The Two Towers. So I arrived in the story, just at the point where the first film ends. The fellowship's broken, Frodo and Sam are heading for Mordor. And I think that's what made me keep reading. I'd started at a point of crisis, and I needed to know what happened next. Of course, I had a lot of blanks to fill in. I managed to pick up a lot of it as I went along, but I went and caught up with the first book as soon as I'd finished reading the second, and went back and started all over again. I went and bought the big all-in-one yellow paperback, the one that's the cover for this little story. It was obligatory to have one of them lying around when you were a student back then, all battered and torn to show it had been read several times. You used to see backpackers all over, hundreds of them in trains going all through Europe, all with this version of Lord of the Rings falling apart in their hands. To get back to the book, as for starting at the beginning, I believe the reason a lot of people give up on Lord of the Rings is that they're expecting heroes and wizards and high magic. What they get is, in great detail, the rural goings-on of a bunch of small, hairy creatures who eat and drink a lot and seem to live in an idealised version of the home counties. Anybody who's read The Hobbit will know there's more to hobbits than that, of course. But newcomers to Lord of the Rings often feel cheated and give up. They don't know what they're missing. The story only really picks up after Bilbo's birthday party and after the passing of the ring to Frodo. Gandalf discovers the true nature of the ring, a magic item of great power belonging to Sauron. Sauron's a dark god intending on taking over the world, and the hobbits are the only things that are going to stop him. So Gandalf tells Frodo that the ring must be taken to a place of safety, to Rivendell, where the High Elves hold out against the dark forces. And so the great journey finally begins. Frodo and his friends, Sam, Merry and Pippin, take the road to see the elves, and on the way they have many adventures. The mood begins to darken with the appearance of dark riders, servants of Sauron, intent on finding the ring. The travelling band is befriended by Strider, a ranger from the north, and he helps get them to Rivendell, but not before Frodo's wounded, and Frodo begins to understand the power the ring might hold over him. Once they get to Rivendell, all things are revealed, the history of the rings told, Strider's shown to be Aragorn, the rightful heir to the kingdom, and a fellowship's made of wizards, elves, dwarves, men and hobbits, and they form a small band who are going to try and take the ring to Mount Doom, where the ring can be destroyed. The only place where it can be destroyed. And so, after a whole book, the adventure truly begins. From here on we have battles in deep mountain mines, the loss of one of the fellowship, encounters with elves, enchanted forest, treachery and betrayal, and the breaking of the fellowship. And we're still only in the fellowship of the ring. Books 2 and 3 deal with the big fight for Middle-earth, and we get big set pieces, full-blown battle scenes, huge battle scenes, moments of humour with the hobbits, and spectacular feats of magic when the White Rider enters the scenes. And I defy anybody to have a dry eye once Sam and Frodo are parted at Shelob's lair. This all builds up to a tremendous climax, and the story comes full circle back to Hobbiton at the end, where we see the effect the war has had on the rural lives of the hobbits. And I think, getting back to it, that's why the beginning is important. You may not see it till you're right at the end, but this book teaching us a lesson about the value of simple things in life. If you don't respect them, you lose them. Tolkien's genius lies in melding these little simple aspects with huge world-shattering events, showing how even the little people have their parts to play in the fight against the big blackness. And he also shows that the best villain's a mysterious one. Sauron hardly appears at all in the book, but his presence stretches over everything. He's always there. The dark eye sees all. I used to have nightmares about that large red-rimmed eye. But that was before I discovered women, grew my hair, developed a liking for Hawkwind and Led Zeppelin, and started to read and write fantasy fiction in great detail. I've never been the same since, but that's another story for another day. Speak again soon. Thanks for listening.